All right, this is about graphing trig functions when there's amplitude changes, a vertical shift, and a period change all in the same equation. So for example, you'll see that on this equation right here. It says y equals the negative 1, if you want to write that, times cosine of 3x and then plus 2. So we're going to identify these three things first, and then we'll show you how to graph that. So the amplitude is, remember, the number in front of here, but it's always the absolute value of that number. So although this is a -1 in front of here, if you would like to change that to a -1, we're going to write the amplitude as 1 and then just make a note that it's going to be flipped when we graph it. But the amplitude, if it was asked, is worth 1. The period, we're going to take this parentheses, the stuff with the x, and set that equal to the typical period of a cosine or sine curve, which in degrees is 360 degrees. So I'm going to solve this for x, and x is going to be worth 120 degrees. Oops. So that is our new period length, is 120 degrees. That's the distance it needs to travel to do one cycle. And then the vertical shift is the number on the end where it's been moved up to. So you're up to plus 2, whatever your teacher prefers. All right, so now I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to label my period, which again, this is the distance that it has to travel. So from starting at 0, traveling 120, the end result will be at 120. Then I'm going to do the 3 spots in between here. So half of that is 60, half of that's 30, and then equally on the other side of 60 is 90. Okay, so I'm going to draw regular cosine first. So normally cosine's at 1, -1. Up, middle, then down, middle, and up. And I'm just going to do that with the dotted line. Just to show you that's the general shape that we're going to work with. So now we took care of the period change, which was this part right here. So we did that already. Now we need to deal with the amplitude and the vertical shift change. So we're going to do the amplitude first, and then the vertical shift, all in the same process, but thinking about this one first. So this -1, we're going to multiply all the y values times -1. Multiply y by -1. And then, oops, you can't see that. Then we're going to add 2 to everything, okay? Because that's my shift up. So multiplying with the amplitude and then adding, because this is positive. If it said -2, we would take away 2. So 1 times -1 is now -1, so technically I'd be here, but then I'm going to move it up 2 spots. So 1, 2, it actually is back where it started. The next point here, 0 times -1 is still 0, but then moving it up 2 spots. Let's say that's 2 right there. -1 times -1, oh, yeah, -1 times -1 is +1, and then moving it up 2 spots is actually at 3. Take those away. Okay. 0 times -1 is 0, up 2 spots is at 2, and 1 times -1 is -1, up 2 spots is in the same place. So we took care of the amplitude and the vertical shift all at that same time, just by multiplying and then adding. Okay, so we see it's flipped from the original one, and the starting point has been, it's actually in the same place, but everything else has been moved up from that.